Go get him, man. You're faster than he is.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Glacier TV's coverage of the rSeat 90 minutes of Virginia International Raceway, the third round of the STC. As you may notice, this is not Will Vincent, this is actually Rob Cuss, as Will is currently late coming home from work, so you have to bear with me, as I'm quite new to broadcasting. Onto the racetrack, and qualifying is in session. Currently your pole sitter is Roland Ehnstrom, with Laurent Beteille second, Dave Gelink third, Rami Kaukola is fourth. From the Radicals, Anthony Roselli is fifth with a great lap. Oscar Salin is currently sixth, and I will try and keep you updated as we go around. Currently I'm on board with Jesper Pedersen, who looks to be on a decent lap as he goes into the Oak Tree turn and out onto the back straight. So he's heading down the back straight towards Madison Avenue, which he's just gone cruising past. Should be coming up to the roller coaster as he drops it down into fourth gear to take the left-hander over the brow of the hill. So, your current standings are, we have Team IXR leading the standings with a massive 166 points due to quite a dominating performance last week. 2 weeks ago. Second place we have RPM with 115 points. WKR Racing are also 115 points, with DMV sitting in fourth and the Radicals in fifth. So they're your top five in your point standings. As we go back onto the track, let's have a little look around and see what is going on. So we've got Blake Townend from the Radicals, currently sitting in 13th with a 146.8. There's about 2.5 minutes left of the qualifying session, and most people have done their 2 laps already by the looks of it. As I cruise through, just bear with me. Looking for some action on track currently. I'm currently following Simon Hill in the green Adidas car 46, looking to improve on his 149.1. See how he gets on. He's currently coming into the second part of the left hook and about to head into the snake. It's quite a tricky section of the course. Don't want to overheat your tyres too much. The next section is so fast. So we're just having a few technical issues with our my broadcast. So it seems that is qualifying over. So Roland Ehnstrom will take the pole, with a Laurent Beteille second, Dave Gelink third, Rami Kaukola fourth, AJ Roselli fifth, Oscar Salin sixth, Frederick Tackman seventh, Luigi Nespolino in eighth, Jesper Talberg Nielsen in 9th, and Jesper Pedersen in 10th. So that's your first 10 runners, your first 5 rows. So the as they grid up, we've got about a minute till they start. And we are just waiting for the rest of the drivers to form up on the grid. We'll wait for the rSeat gantry to go from red to green. So the rest of the cars are forming up the grid. That turn 1 is going to be insane. Hopefully they'll realise it's a 90-minute race. But going into the horseshoe is going to be interesting, to say the least. So there we are, going out on, currently out on our pace lap. We're not going to go to the grid. As I said, newbie in the booth. It's a rolling start, so I'll rewind myself. We'll wait for the pace car to pull off at the end of the lap, and we'll be going racing. You have to excuse my errors. So, key bits of the track. They are currently coming through NASCAR bend, left hook, and out onto the snake. So the section they're currently running through now is high speed, getting warm up the front tyres incredibly high. As we know from the last round, tyre heat is an issue, not tyre wear. So you kind of have to play smart, especially in the first couple of stints. Just keep your tyres in good nick and go from there, really. Should be an interesting start, because Roland and Laurent are very quick, and Gelink's not too far behind. It'd be who plays the waiting game. Look for, these are drivers I'd look to come through the pack. Basically Blake Townend, Rob Straitmans, Ivan Fernandez, Simon Hill. There's so many good drivers a little bit further back that might just play the waiting game and see how the race pans out. It's 90 minutes, long race. Lots of things can happen as they go around Oak Tree right now and head out onto the back straight. So we also see who's running low downforce, you know, low rear wing settings to try and take advantage of this part of the track, but may lose speed in the turns. Roller coaster is going to be key again, where people might get a little smart and try overtaking moves. There into the hog pen maybe, but key overtaking areas will probably be horseshoe, Oak Tree, the left hook, and just after NASCAR bend. And you know, your normal drafting moves down the straights, but we'll see how this pans out. So they're heading towards, you know, they're coming into the roller coaster now, so it's not long to green. The pace car driver will be itching to get off the track and let these boys loose in their McLarens with a lot of horsepower under their right foot, attached to the noisy pedal. Jarno, we need to check the broadcast. We've got no video, apparently. And here we go, we are green. So, it's a bit like Glacier TV radio right now, so we're heading down into the first corner. Roland Ehnstrom has got a brilliant start as they head into Horseshoe for the first time. We've already got Dave Gelink making a move to take P3 on the start, with AJ Roselli looking to take P4 as they go around the NASCAR bend. Oh, he's just been forced wide, so no, he's P4. He did make that move. Sorry, P5. As Roland Ehnstrom leads them away through the snake for the first time. We will try and get the picture back up to you as soon as possible. Jarno is working hard on that as the cars make their way through they're coming up to South Bend now, so away they go. So the current running order is Roland Ehnstrom, Laurent Beteille, Dave Gelink, Rami Kaukola, Anthony Roselli, Oscar Sauhin, Frederick Tapman. I haven't seen any incidents. We seem to be incident free shortly so far, sorry. And onto the big back straight, and there's lots of drafting going on. So I will move further down the order and see what's occurring. And we have pictures back up as Frederick Tapman makes a move onto the outside going into the South Bend, and they're coming up to Oak Tree now. Sorry, roller coaster into the hog pen. Get my part of the track right. As our cameraman flicks round to car 7, Frederick Tapman, which is where the action was. He's just sitting behind Anthony Roselli, currently P6, with Oscar Sauhin right behind him. As they come through the left hook, and through NASCAR bend onto the left hook, and then into the snake. He's looking, he's just showing him enough of his nose to make him a little nervous as they go through the roller coaster. Ooh, a little bit wide. That'll allow Oscar to close the gap a little bit. Maybe a wait to the back straight and then draft him. We'll find out as they go through the rest of the roller coaster. And up to Oak Tree. We may look to make a move under brakes, maybe. Little dart, no, just going to hold his line, maybe set him up for the pass on the straight. Good exit, and away he goes. Where if we look a little bit further up the track to car 5, Anthony Roselli's closing on Rami Kaukola. As they head down through the roller coaster into the hog pen. AJ with a nice exit through there. Will he carry the speed onto the start finish straight and pop himself in the draft? It's tucked up quite nicely behind Rami. Or will he make a move under the brakes, or will he just sit there? Oh, he's going for it. No, just showed him his nose and drops himself back in. It's got good drive through the middle of this corner, and we're keeping on that battle as it progresses. So back to our leader, who's already got a 1.1 second gap over second place. So that's Roland Ehnstrom is your current leader, with Laurent Beteille P2, Dave Gelink just behind in P3, and then the Rami Kaukola and the AJ Roselli battle just behind them. Then it kind of spreads out a little bit, you know, a couple of seconds between each car. We're keeping on the first 3 for now, and then I'll drop back and we'll have a little look through the pack. So there's a good battle for P7 could appear as there's some drafting going on down the back straight, coming into the roller coaster. as Luigi Nespolone makes a move. Oh, can't quite make it stick. Try the cut back through this section and maybe try again at Hogpen, but it seems to have lost a little bit of corner speed, a little bit of exit speed. So Frederick took a whole heap of curb just in front. Looks like we've still got all 34 runners as I flick through the field. Blake Townend down in 21st. Going a little bit wider onto the grass and off the track. That will allow Stefan Coupons through and Mark Warburton. A whole host. Blake seems to be struggling with the handling of his car and has dropped down to 30 seconds, so 10 spots in one mistake. Can't really afford to go off at Virginia because the iRacing grass is Michael Larson's got a massive amount of damage. Car 5 in 33rd place. Looks like he's had a big off. I think he'll be parking that and retiring it, so that could be our first retirement. Rob Straitman's just made a great move on Rasmus Larsson for P21. Just missed that. Anyway, head back to the leaders. Roland Ehnstrom still out in front, but seems like we've got a battle developing for P2 and between Laurent Beteille and Dave Gelink. Gelink seems to be closing in, and AJ Roselli seems to have passed Rami Kaukola for 4th as well, which is good. Let's see if we can close the gap on P3. It's Dave Gelink slipstreams down the front stretch as they come up to a horseshoe on lap 5. So still a whole 77 minutes to go. So your broadcast should be showing car 88, which is Laurent Beteille, P2, followed hotly by Dave Gelink in P3 as he takes a lot of curb as they go through the snake. Through the second part of the snake, this is flat out. Maybe a lift just for this one. Oh, Dave Gelink on the brakes, looking for a way around. Seems quite late on the brakes. He could be looking for a move. Coming into Oak Tree, close right up and then sit under his boot for the draft. So they're reaching like 240 k's down the straight into quite a heavy braking zone because you go up and over the hill. Oh, Dave Gelink has a little look and decided not to, and goes for a better exit. Drops through the last part of the roller coaster and they head towards the hog pen. They try and close up one more to try and get a run down the straight and maybe look for a pass at Horseshoe, which is turn 1. They're currently sitting 1.2 seconds behind P1 at the moment. And P4 is currently 5 seconds off the leader. So they've got quite a nice gap. See how this fight, there looks like a decent fight developing for P4, 5 and 6. So we'll try and get our cameras on that. And we have a little freight train of cars forming behind Anthony Roselli. Rami Kaukola just behind, followed by Frederick Chapman and Oscar Salin, with Luigi Nespolone after making that pass earlier on Jesper, not far off. So, as you can see, a whole gaggle of cars behind P4, car 70, the Radicals car of Anthony Roselli. The Rami Kaukola running quite hot. Seems to be losing a little bit of ground, but then closes up under brake. So, if he's running slightly more wings, give him a little bit more corner speed. AJ seems to pull away on the straights. Not so much in the corners. Frederick Tapman is closing in fast on Rami Kaukola, and Oscar Salin not too far away from this battle, but maybe the one to watch is Luigi Nespolona, who seems lapping a little bit quicker than the guys in front at the moment. It should be on the back of this group very shortly. Jesper Pedersen's not too far away either. So we also have a group of cars on pit road that don't look like they're going to go anywhere fast. So we've got Reggie Blaine, Rasmus Larsen, Stefan Coppins, Marco Warmerton, Alan Shaw and Michael Larsen all on pit road, all 2 laps down. So they could be our retirees so far. So Rami seems to have dropped off. Well, we're on to Blake Town, back onto Blake Town then, who after his current lack of talent excursions onto the grass is now trying to fight his way back. And he's chasing down Ari Hara, going through the Snake currently, heading up towards Oak Tree. As they come into this, it's a fast third gear into second, late on the brakes, and trying to get a good run out to get yourself in the tow for the very long back straight. So Blake nicely in the tow. We'll see if he tries to make a pass and going up the hill to the first part of the roller coaster. We will be going on board with Blake very shortly, as we should be on board now as you drop down into roller coaster, through the roller coaster, and we head towards Hog Pen on the back of Ari Harrow's. Oh, a little bit late. There's a lot of curb by Ari there. Should give Blake the opening if he can get a good run out of the turn onto the start finish straight. So in the tow, looking for a way round. Or will he sell him a dummy? He goes to the outside. Ari defending his line. Will Blake look for the cut back and a good exit? Oh, almost touch. Very close. Ari goes a little bit wide. Head into the double left through NASCAR bend into the hook. The left hook. Look to remove up the inside. Can't get it done. Heading into the Snake now. Again. This next bit flat. Through the left, and then through the maggots, like Beckett's kind of complex. And the last part is also flat, maybe a little lift could set him up for Oak Tree. Oh, he looks to the outside, looks to the inside, can't get it quite done, and Ari goes off, completely off the track. Back on, loses himself 2 positions, but Blake gets himself away through Oak Tree, and next on his hit, next car in front is Kevin Oliver Adam. So we'll see how we'll keep checking with Blake every now and again, see how he gets on. So, 20 minutes in, we still have Roland Ehnstrom, P1, Laurent Beteille, P2, Dave Gelink, P3, not too far behind Laurent, Anthony Roselli, P4, Rami Kaukola, P5, Frederick Tapman, P6, Oscar Salin, P7. Luigi Nespolino, P8. Jesper Pedersen, P9. Although he's just gone straight off and planted himself in the barrier, so that could be a race over. I literally flicked to him and caught that. He's lost it going through through the rock, through the last part of the snake. It looks like clipped the curb, got it on the grass, completely lost it, couldn't slow the car down, straight into the wall. So that could be Jesper Pedersen's race over. See if we can get that on a replay for you. So that moves Jesper Talberg up to P9. Dennis Richard will be P10. So that is your current top 10. Dennis from is about 6 seconds in front of Kresimir Presnicki. Sorry if I can't pronounce that. Right. Okay, so looks like Rami Kaukola has caught up with Mr. Roselli once more. We see still have that five car battle. Kind of flits in and out. Sometimes have a good lap, sometimes they don't. VIR, super hard track. It's known as the Green Hell for a very good reason. One mistake and it's game over. A lot of grass that doesn't slow you down, sadly. Not one of my personal favourite tracks, but it's a challenge, definitely. Looking, looks like Luigi Nespolino is in Oscar Salin's draft, or very close to, so that battle for P8, P9 could develop very shortly. Let's see how this goes. Hopefully Will join us very shortly and save you from my monotone commentating voice. Hopefully it won't be too much longer. Anyway, back to the racing. We're looking at Luigi Nespolino trying to catch up with Oscar Salin. He was a little bit closer previously. Oh, very late on the brakes. Closes in a good car length. That was phenomenal braking. Let's see if this develops in the next few corners. Looks like Luigi's car's handle was very nicely. I wonder if he's cooking his front tyres again. Tyres overheat in this car and give you chronic understeer, which is not so brilliant when you're going high speed through the snake or the roller coaster towards the end of the lap. You kind of want your front tyres to help you steer where you're turning your wheel. A little dab of the brakes. He seems to close up under braking, but he might be running a little more wing. Oh, that looked like Frederick Tapman slightly off the track. So this has now developed into a battle for 7, 8 and 9, with Frederick losing a lot of momentum. So this will allow Oscar and Luigi to catch him up. See, will Oscar go for a move or will he wait? Personally, I'd wait, go through the roller coaster, try and get a good exit onto the front straight and go from there. And try and get him on one of the heavy braking zones. VIR is quite a flowing track. There's only two real corners that you really stand on the brakes for, and that is Oak Tree and Horseshoe. So they're at the end of pretty long straights, or fast sections. As Oscar closes right up to Frederick, but Luigi is not far behind. Let's see how this develops as they flick left. and then go through left hook, and they head into the snake. See how much speed they carry through as they go right, left, and into the next part. They seem to spread out very evenly. Luigi kind of closes up on the brakes, Oscar kind of closes up on the brakes, but it seems Frederick's got decent exit speed. Lots of rear end grip. Oh, there's a massive lock up and there's a car facing the wrong way. That looked like Rami Kaukola, and it was. Rami Kaukola suffering from a lack of talent and spinning his car. We'll try and get a replay of that as he headed up. So, he just crashed the curb, sends him onto the grass, loses it, does a donut, does another one, faces the wrong way, Sebastian Vettel style, boots it, and this has cost him maybe 6-7 positions. So that promotes us. That promotes Anthony Rizzelli 4, so that promotes Frederick Tapman in this battle we were watching to 5th, 6th and 7th. So there's more points to play for. Yes, Tolberg in 8th, Dennis Richard in 9th, and it'll be Rami Kaukola is now P10. So quite a big costly error by Rami there. Plenty of time left. We've got an hour and 3 minutes of racing still to go, so plenty of time for him to work his way back through the field. Blake Townend has now popped himself back up to the into 20th after his excursions earlier on. So we stick with the battle for now. It seems Frederick's got a little bit of a gap over P6 and 7 over Oscar and Luigi, as they seem to be squabbling and allowing him to get away. As we saw in the previous round, sometimes it's good just to sit back, and just cruise around, pick your moment to attack, and then go for it from there. An hour left of racing, so it shouldn't be too long before we see some pit stops. Maybe another 5-6 minutes, or maybe slightly longer. I don't know what the we've seen momentarily the voice of Will Vincent will arrive and save you from me. Anyway, back to the racing. Here's Will. Hello, Will. How are you?
I apologise for the delays and that, but yeah, it's Virginia, and we're half an hour into the race already, and just heard you talking about alluding to pit stops, and we're not too far away. It's going to be interesting with strategy-wise in this, because that pit window opens in, I'd say, about 10 minutes time. These cars normally on a track can do about 55 minutes on a tank of fuel. On a track like Virginia, with so many twists and turns, you're a little bit better on your fuel mileage, but that fuel window is going to be really interesting over the course of, I'd say, the next 20 minutes or so.
I'd like to say thank you for saving me, Will, because that was hard work. I don't know how you do it. Brilliant. The key battles that we've missed. We've lost a few runners. Jesper Pedersen went off earlier on in a big way. Rami Kaukola just lost 7 positions with one mistake. So VIR concentration is key to this race, because you touch the grass or the curb, as we've seen, and that could be race over or back down the field.
Yeah, and they don't call it the green hell for nothing. And having a look at the racetrack right now, these battles are continuing. We are looking at that battle right now for 4th, 5th and 6th positions on the racetrack. And Anthony Rizzelli and Frederick Tapman, that gap right now is about 3 seconds on the racetrack. In fact, Rizzelli there Just lost himself a little bit of time. It looks like he might have just gone wide at a corner there. But Tackman in the 5th position, Oscar Darling in that Black Rebels, number 33 machine, currently working himself in the 6th position on the racetrack. They're working their way down the front straightaway once again. And this is one of these battles that will go on all race long. But for Starlin right now, he needs to kind of keep those tyres kind of like under check for the next, I'd say, next 10 minutes or so. Hope that perhaps Tackman is abused those tyres a little bit, you know, trying to push, trying to stay in that 5th position. And I think right now Starlin's not in a bad position. And let's not forget as well, with Luigi in that 7th position, I think those two drivers right now, they're still in the shot of making some big ground in this race.
Definitely. Hours ago, you know, as we've seen already, it can take one mistake. I mean, Rami Kaukola was running a comfortable 3rd and 4th, cruising around, drops the wheel, drops it onto the curb, and he's now back in 9th. So these guys, to be on the shout, just need to keep doing what they're doing, lapping consistently, not getting on the green or the grey stuff, well, the outer grey stuff or the white line, and just being easy over the curbs as we see Frederick take a lot of curb there.
Yeah, through 8-tree corner there, and I tell you what, these drivers right now, it's about that part of the race. These drivers love to grind these Sunday Grand West courts, but it's that point of the race when you, especially as you're coming down Mountain Avenue, like these cars are right now, but they're just thinking, I am so glad I don't have to turn right now and go for another sequence of the racetrack. They're heading up to the roller coaster once again. I have to say that it doesn't look as though Starlin is pushing in that 33 car. He's not pushing that issue at all on Tackman.
No, I think we're going to see a lot like last week, where 2 weeks ago, where people were just cruising around, you know, getting in a rhythm, setting their car up, feeling comfortable with the car, experimenting a little bit lap after lap, just checking where they can push, and just cruise up behind someone, sit there for a bit.
Got a disqualification. Reggie Blaine has disqualified there, so he now will finish last in the race. We'll get you more updates on that momentarily, but to run through your top 20, first of all, it is Roland Ehnstrom right now with a 2.8 second lead over Dave Gelink. Laurent Beteille is currently sat in the 3rd position. Those 3 drivers currently separated by 4.1 seconds on the racetrack. Anthony Oselli currently running in the 4th position, Frederick Tackman in 5th. Oscar Starlin running in the 6th position with Luigi Nespolino in the 7th spot, with Justin Nielsen in 8th. And Starlin there getting a very good run. He's now going to make that pass on the Danielsson Motorsport car there of Frederick Tackman to move him now up into the 5th position. And to run through the rest of your top 10, it is Rami Kaukola in 9th. Talk about how he had issues about 4 or 5 laps ago. And then running at your top 10 is Danny Ricard. In 11th is Ruben Conner. In 12th is Marco Saletti. In 13th is Kevin Beekman. 14th is Hal Cadasso. 15th is Christian Praninsky. In 16th is Ivan Fernandez. 17th is Stefan Greer. In 18th, Blake Townend. 19th, Justin Greenway. And 20th is Burke Ekman. But right there, you just saw on a track like this, especially for that section of the racetrack, that second sector, when you're going through those high-speed curb stops, you cannot put a wheel wrong, and that just looks like what happened there to tap them. Someone saying thank you very much. He's now up into the top 5.
Yep, that's how we lost Jesper Pedersen earlier. Caught the curb, boom, gone. Luckily, that didn't happen to Frederick, so he's still running. All good. He's sitting in the draft. Will he make a move? Maybe not.
And meanwhile, we're going to check in on the battle for the 18th through 20th positions on the racetrack right now. This is the battle for Blake Townend currently sat in 18th, and Justin Greenway in 19th, and Burke Ekman in the 20th position. And Blake Townend's actually been able to pull out a bit of a gap over these two drivers the last lap or so. By the look of it, Blake Townend in that number 17 Raffle car has actually been able to get quite a big gap this last lap over Jasper Groeneweg and Burke Ekman. They're battling for 19th and 20th positions late on the racetrack right now. And for Ekman in that 5.com car, he's looking very close. In fact, he's going to try and stick it down the inside as they come down into turn 1 of that Talbot Racing number 82 car of Jasper Groeneweg. He will complete the pass and move him up into what is now the 18th position on the racetrack.
Yeah, it was a good move. Like a great move.
So yeah, it was. I mean, that's the sort of thing, you know. You were talking about about a little bit earlier on, you know, you've only got 2 or 3 real passing opportunities on this racetrack. If a driver makes a mistake, slip it down the inside, but for pure passing opportunities, down into turn number 1. Possibly the only other place that's as easy to do it is perhaps down into Oak Tree Corner, but turn number 1, he just timed it perfectly.
He did indeed. It's your favourite month, isn't it?
It is, it's the month of May. We are now officially in the month of May, of course. So much good racing coming over in the next month or so, concluding, of course, Memorial Day weekend, Monaco Grand Prix, the Indianapolis 500 and the Coke 600 all in one day. So much good endurance racing going on this weekend as well. Really looking forward, for example, to the WEC race at Spa. But back here at Virginia, we are now past the half-hour point of the third round even, of the Simulated Teams Championship, Race Department Championship, the rSeat.net 90 minutes of Virginia. And Roland Ehnstrom right now, he's got that gap up over Dave Gelink to about 3 seconds on the racetrack. Ehnstrom, his last time by in that 29 machine, he did himself a 1 minute 47.113. Dave Gelink, that previous lap was a tiny bit faster. They're at that stage of the race right now where they're going to get into more and more traffic. They've got Kevin, Oliver, Adam, who they've just put a lap down, and in fact he's actually splitting the lead pack cars right now. But in about 4 or 5 laps time, drivers like Alexandra Catano, Rob Straitenmans, Simon Hill, they're all going to be put a lap down. And it's that stage of the race as well, Rob, that you can gain or lose a lot of time working through traffic, especially once that pit window fully opens.
Yep, you could be set yourself up for a great in-lap, work really hard and come out the pits and just get stuck. Or, you can come, there's a lot of rollers and rises at VIR, so you could get stuck for a good portion of your lap behind a slower car with no real opportunity to pass. So you have to rely on the other driver to, be courteous, look in his mirror, let you through. Otherwise it's just sit there, and sit there.
Pretty much for half a lap in. I'm just actually having a look at the times right now, and when you're having a look at the fact that Ehnstrom is doing laps in 1 minute 47, for example, drivers all the way up, in fact, into about the top 15, if they pit, they'll take 4 fresh tyres, they'll top up with race gas as well. You're going to have state tyres here, you're going to have to top your fuel all the way back up. They will come out right into play with the leaders. So for Ehnstrom, he's going to have to bear that in mind, work with his crew chief, work with all of his team doing his strategy to make sure he gets out into clean air. And the same applies to Gelink as well. Gelink is going to have to hope that Ehnstrom comes up with some issues at some point in the next 10 laps. So he's not out of touch. Last time he did a 1 minute 47.407, but he lost 0.3 of a second to Ehnstrom in that last lap. It looks as though that Gelink can string a good couple of laps together, being a little bit rugged, however, when he does so. His last 3 laps before that, they were within 1/10 of a second of each other. In fact, lap 15 and 16 separated by just 3 1/1000ths of a second on the racetrack. He lost himself. He was 4 slower that last lap on lap 18 as he's currently working himself down to Oak Tree Bend. Once again, that double apex right-hander that leads him on to Madison Avenue. This long, cresting back straightaway with so many undulation changes. It really is a joy for these drivers. Meanwhile, having a look down the field, you've got Rami Kaukola and Danielsson Motorsport battling for position right now. It looks like that Kaukola's been able to get that spot up in the last laps or so. But you've got Kaukola right now in that RPM number 66 car, and then you've got Danielsson Motorsport in the Black Rebels number 11 car, and they're having a nice little battle for 9th and 10th position right now.
Yep. I mean, obviously Rami's trying to work his way back through after his early mistake. But Dennis is hanging on. If Dennis can sit with Rami, maybe work together, cruise their way through, because they seem to be a little quicker than the cars in front and maybe gaining slightly.
And I'll tell you what, Kaukola, he locked up quite heavily as he came down into the roller coaster. That allowed the car to just close up, and thank you, it's actually Dennis Richard there, and to close right up to the rear pit in that number 11 Black Rebels car, as they are going to put their 19th lap in the books here at Virginia. They're currently running in the 9th and 10th positions. They are pulling out a gap, quite a sizable gap right now actually, over Kevin Beekman in the number 7 car, who is running in the 11th position. I'm having a look at their lap times as well. It does look to me that they are slowly closing in Jesper Talberg Nielsen. Nielsen last time by a 1 minute 48.117. Compare that to a 1 minute 47.7 for Kaukola and a 1 minute 47.9 there for Dennis Richard. So Jesper Talberg Nielsen in that Iron Wheel Sim International car really is starting to get hunted down right now, whilst he's still also losing time to Luigi Nespolino ahead of him. So right now, Justin Nielsen is kind of in no man's land, not gaining some cars in front, but losing quite a bit of time these last couple of laps to those two cars hunting him down.
It's, you know, it could be just seeing the cars in front thinking, oh, I need to catch up to the back of them, and just trying that a little bit too hard, which is actually losing him time. Maybe he just needs to, you know, wind his neck in, settle down into a rhythm. Like he was good in practice, and he was decent in qualifying. Needs to get back into a rhythm and go again. It's a long race, so you know it's all about consistency.
Yeah, at tracks like this, sometimes you have to go slower to go faster. It sounds stupid, but on a track like VIR, you have to hit your apexes, and because of the fact that an apex leads directly into the next apex, it always reminds me, most of this racetrack, like, oh no, Danielsson Motorsport, they're going sideways, and he clobbers there, Rami Kaukola. Both of them are going to be out of the race. Kaukola is literally doing lawnmower racing right now as they're driving over the bumps. They are both going to bring their cars back down towards pit road. You've got to be careful, you're hanging on the right-hand side of the tyre wall, otherwise you'll never get it back onto the racetrack. But those two cars are losing time. Replay up on your screen momentarily. Danielsson Richard there in the black Rebels car. He was coming into the roller coaster corner, and that car, he stays out as well. This is what's even more surprising to me. I thought he would have come down pit road. That pit window is open. He should have decided to come in. But I mean, he was coming down into the roller coaster. That car snapped him in under braking, and it's that whole sort of thing now that Kaukola was an unfortunate bystander. There was nothing really, you know, you can't really blame that completely on Richard. He just kind of, you know, overdrove the corner, locked that brakes up, that sort of thing happens. But then it was just bad luck for Kaukola, and his race has gone from bad to worse.
Yep. After his own mistake earlier on, he seems to have got punished by an unfortunate error by someone else. Front, yeah. I don't know how the other car's still running.
I don't know. He was sideways there, working himself through turns 5, 6, and 7 there. He's got some major numbers to that race car. Have a look as he comes up here. This is really going to test the mechanical grip that car has. He's actually able to get himself to that section pretty nicely. But you see he's running wide down the approach to Oak Tree Bend. Really, that car is snapping. If he comes out of Oak Tree, this is going to be interesting to see how that car works coming out of a slow speed corner. This is where you really tell how badly damaged the car is. That thing really is wobbling about. And, you know, I'm just thinking back, right, it's that Senna wiggle. But with Senna, you know, back in the day, he would do that wiggle and it actually made him faster. Right now, the number 11 car of Danielsson Richard is just doing that wiggle. He's just trying everything he can to stay on the racetrack. Coming up to a roller coaster once again. We'll see whether he locks that brake up. I'm sure he will come down towards pit road this time by. There is no way he can keep that car out on the racetrack. That damage, you see, he's just pushing all over the place there as he's working it down to the last couple of corners on this racetrack. Loose once again, tight all over the place. Will he come in? Will he stays out? And he stays out for another lap.
Sure, surely the racer has got to be having at that for, you know, he don't want to ruin someone else's race.
Yeah, I'm sure that race control and not only taking
as we lose, was that Yale going off?
I'm not quite sure. Have a look back.
No, that was Ruben Collimer. Look, went off to the grass just in front of that, and he's onto the grass and spinning again.
And you see, it's that point of the race as well. This is where that mental fatigue kicks in. On a track like this as well, your tyres are now approaching the halfway point of this race. Your tyres are going to start getting shot to pieces. And I think that Richard actually, he's probably just holding on for these next couple of laps to try and get to a point where he doesn't need to pit again. And his last lap was a 1 minute 52.7, so he's still within minimum speed per se. But that car, you know, it might still be called in with the fact that, you know, it is weaving over the place. It's tough for him to hold the line right now. We'll keep an eye out on the number 11 machine there of Danielsson Richard. Meanwhile, behind him, you've got Blake Townend in that 57 car now, right up behind Richard. And I have to say that for Townend, he's had a great couple of laps. He's been able to get himself, you know, back up into the top 15. Don't forget, this is the kid who started this race in the 13th position, fell down a little bit earlier on. He's been able to make himself some ground up in this middle stage of the race.
Exactly, and he's still got time to get further up. You know, he's he's great in the tin top. He's very, very good, and you know, helps me with my racing. Put my radical hat back on for a sec.
Yeah. He
does. He's a brilliant guy, and lives really close to me. So I've met him a couple of times. Stand-up guy, help anyone out. But the talent behind the wheel is crazy.
Yeah, one of the youngest members of the iRacing.com World Championship Series of road racing as well. And Blake Townend, I mean, I remember calling him in the Grand Am Series last year, the iRacing.com Grand Am Premier Series. He was a very, very good there. Had some horrible luck. In fact, Blake Townend, a bit like Pablo Lopez, they have had some very bad luck in recent months. But right now, Townend, he is now up into the 11th position on the racetrack in that number 57 Radical Steel Series car. And he is circling. His last lap was a 1 minute 47.591. Meanwhile, you've got Ivan Fernandez and Ruben Conover. They are now battling for 18th and 19th position on the racetrack. And for Ivan Fernandez in that 30 car, his last lap was a 1 minute 49.930. The reason why Ruben is back in that 19th position right now is his last lap was a 2 minute 4.097. And the reason for that, well, that's he went off track that last lap, as you were talking about, Rob.
Yep, suffered from what is known as a lack of talent.
Unfortunately, that's all you can say in that sort of thing, unfortunately. Therefore, the team SSRC there represented there with Ruben Conover. And he's also looking as though that car is struggling to get out of the corners. I was having a look at him coming through Oak Tree Bend there, and he was having to wait a lifetime there to get that car back into the power.
Maybe he's running low wing, but you know, it's helping him down the straights. But I don't know, mate, or his clutch setup's wrong, or it looks a little bit squirrely going into some of the corners as well. So maybe just cooked his tyres.
Yeah,
he's got dirt on them still.
Well, I'm having a look, and it did look as though he's struggling, and he's not running that low wing in my opinion though, because he wasn't really gaining much speed there on Ivan Fernandez. We'll get a better representation of this as they come past the start-finish line once again. This is the number 24 car of Ruben Conover, who is now up into 18th position because of course that pit stop window is open now. So some cars are starting to bring it down on towards pit road. You get a little bit of speed there on the straightaway, but nothing really to write home about, as Oscar Salin is on pit road, and he's put his car on pit road. And let's see what happened to him. Was he involved in that incident earlier on? But Oscar Salin right now in that 33 car, of course, he was involved in that incident a little bit earlier on in this race. And in fact, this is a different incident actually. This is Luigi Nespolino. So those two have come together. The Team GT car there of Luigi Nespolino and the other Black Rebels car have come together on.
Seems like a bad day for the Black Rebels. You know, they can't get a fixed race car between them. I don't think. They're looking at the damage on the Oscar's car. It's bent wing and dents all over it, and then you got Dennis as well, that's obviously had a big off and he's running around with damage. So
we'll try and get ourselves a replay of what actually happened, if we can, with these two cars. It was coming down into the roller coaster once again. It is the number 10 car of Luigi Nespolino and Oscar Salin in the number 33 Black Rebels car, and it's coming down into the roller coaster corner. They were going side by side, and Salin, he was on essentially what was the outside line. It becomes the inside line for the next corner, but he just overshot the corner again onto the grass. That car immediately goes sideways. He couldn't control it at all, and for Nespolino, he just essentially drove into it. He didn't realise that he was going to get there at all. And that was on lap 22 of the race, and Salin pretty much is now out of the race.
Not a good day to be a Black Rebel, apparently.
It's not a good day indeed, I have to tell you that.
So, it seems Roland's, while we were watching that, Roland's up to nearly 5 seconds in front now. He was brilliant in practice earlier on. Obviously, because I've been watching some of the practice with my team and stuff. Roland's been dominant, just so consistent, and he's stretching that gap a lot. I mean,
it is quite a bit actually. It's that stage of the race as well. Meanwhile, we're going to get ourselves a replay of what happened again. These cars right now, just coming out of Oak Tree Corner. It's between, let's say, Luigi Nespolino and Oscar Salin. And this was that incident that happened on lap number 22 of the race, which is why Black Rebels are really having a tough showing today. That is really going to hurt their championship charge. So they came down Medicine Avenue, they came into the corner side by side. Simon, you could see the car, he gave him the line. To be fair, he gave him the room as well, Rob. And he gave Nespolino quite a lot of room there. Nespolino, he came through the first part of the corner. I just don't think that he expected it. And you really can't see much out the windows of these GT3 cars either. And didn't really see what was going on, and pow, right into him.
Yeah, I mean, he could be running single screen. You know, he might not have the luxury of a triple screen. So that makes it even harder to see out the GT cars, because obviously it depends on the driver's perspective when you're racing these things. You know, if you're running on a single screen, it can be super hard to see a car, even if he's alongside you. So, you know, you might not racing. You just have to be extra careful in an endurance race.
So we'll get confirmation of just how much that hurt Team Black Rebels in the championship standings as this race progresses. But to head it back over 15 seconds, he has lost there in the last lap. And Roland Ehnstrom, meanwhile, continues to go faster.
Roland needs. I wonder what his spaceship is. Where his spaceship's parked around here, because he's ridiculous.
He really is.
He's crazy around this track. His car looks just. His car has never looked, apart from that corner where he had a little bit of a squirrely moment. His cars look great.
And we would like to apologise there for 30 seconds of not being with you, but welcome back. Glacier TV, Will Vincent and Rob Cost here in the final 12 minutes of the third round of the STC Race Department Championship. I said fifth round earlier, I really do apologise. But this is the third round. We still have 3 rounds left to go here in the series. The next one being a 45-minute race. And for some of these drivers as well, I think the idea is Power's going to look down the inside, so come down into roller coaster, keep it. He will get the bars complete there. So move Townend if he can get through. You see he took a very tight line there into the second part of roller coaster, just to make sure that he didn't go right, because that car does look as though it still really is pushing out on him.
Yeah, he's pushing all over the shop. He just needs to now just settle down and go. But yeah, alluding back to this, I think you're going to go to like sprint races versus endurance races. 45 minutes versus 90 is, you know, it's double the length, so it requires, you know, a steady, you know, first hour before you know, get yourself in a rhythm, and then go into sprint race mode. Whereas a lot of the drivers, I've done it, go straight into sprint race mode in an endurance race. You know, try and blitz everyone in the first 20 minutes and stretch a lead, but it doesn't work. Roland Ehnstrom is the perfect example of how to drive an endurance race. Consistent, fast laps.
And so 3 rounds left in the championship. In 2 weeks' time, we'll be with you at Twin Ring Motegi for 45 minutes. Next time we're in a 90-minute race, that will be at Circuit des Spa-Francorchamps on the 30th of May. And we conclude the season as well. Let's talk about that very quickly. Homestead Miami Speedway Road Course B layout. That's one that's got the entirety of, you know, half of the oval in that. That really is going to be a proper handling track, because you don't realise how tough Homestead is as an oval to get around. I've driven tens of thousands of laps there, 18 to 20 degrees of variable banking, but it really does abuse the tyres, and then you've only got yourself about 4 or 5 seconds to calm it down before you head up into a big braking zone.
It's going to be crazy. The tyres are going to suffer so much at that track. Under the braking zones, we're going to see carnage, I think. Absolute carnage.
Indeed, and I'm really looking forward to actually concluding the season at Homestead Miami Speedway. But meanwhile, back to Virginia, and Jess Tilburg and Hilton and Hal Cardasso, they are battling a little bit now for 7th and 8th position. When there's 5 seconds separating them on the racetrack, Cardasso is still pulling out, but there's been some roughiness a little bit there from Hal Cardasso these last couple of laps.
Yeah, and you know, maybe fatigue setting in. You know, concentration's going, but he doesn't want to do what Blake did, because he can't afford to lose 14, 15 seconds, because he'll lose 2 spots quite easily. So he needs to kind of like back himself back up and just chill and drive.
So with now less than 10 minutes, in fact 9 minutes left to go this race, and you've got Stefan Gruos from first car scored 1 lap down. We now only have 14 cars on the lead lap. And I mean, this is a long track. It's a 1 minute 48, 9-ish lap, depending on what tyres you're on. It comes down to 1 minute 46 laps later on. But, you know, after 90 minutes worth of racing, to still have 14 cars on the lead lap, that is pretty impressive.
It's fantastic. It just shows the quality that's, you know, quality of driver that's been attracted to this series. You know, even the guys, a lot of the guys that have won that down have been unlucky, you know, with contacts or spins. So if everyone had a clean race, I'm sure would have 20, 25 drivers on the lead lap, but a few people have been unlucky. So just the strength and depth of field of this championship is brilliant.
It really is, and this is one of the things that does make the FTC Championship really, really good. One of the premier championships in its discipline, and it continues to be. And of course, we have to keep on referring it back to the teams as well. And I keep on thinking that for Danielsson Motorsport, you know, they've got the win pretty much now in the bag. They're going to take their first win of the season, ending the ineX streak, if all goes to plan. But then you've got two ineX drivers running third and fourth. You've got a Radical driver running it in, two ineX drivers running second and third. You've got Radical drivers running fourth. Frederick Tackman's only running in the fifth position. And you're at that stage of the season now for Danielsson Motorsport. Like, yeah, wins are good, but you have to think about that entire team. You need to get Tackman today really up into the top three.
Exactly. It's about running pairs. You need to, you know, everyone's got to drive different races, obviously, in this, which is great as well. So it's about using your drivers wisely on the right tracks. I mean, obviously Roland's doing a great job, but the two ineX guys are just sitting at second and third. They don't need to win because they're going to get massive points for 2 spots.
But all the way down the field as well. I mean, I'm having a look at the rear of the field. AB Racing, for example, they are going to gain some positions here today. Vortex Racing having a bad day. You've got Antwerp Racing Team having a pretty good day, but SSRC, they're having a pretty good day as well today. So it's all going to shape itself up. And for example, Talk Quick Racing, they've had a better race today, but drivers around have had good races. And it's that thing, you know, it's always power in numbers in a series like this.
Exactly. It's getting 2 consistent drivers to drive, you know, and maximise your points. I mean, because it's not a drivers' championship. It's a team, so you need both drivers to do well, not just one. It's great having a winner, but if you win and come, you know, your second driver doesn't finish, you're always going to lose out to the more consistent guys that finish third and fourth each time.
I'll tell you what, this has been some great onboard shots with Dave Gelink in that number 26 ineX racing car. The way it stands, they are going to walk out of Virginia still with the championship lead in hand. And for Gelink right now, he's working himself out of the roller coaster down into now the last couple of corners here on this racetrack. Some traffic ahead of him. Gets a big puff of smoke as well. That's Simon Hill has spins it, and Gelink there. That, you know, I always say you make your own luck in motor racing. I mean, Infinity Esports car there was Simon Hill losing it on the final corner. In fact, in not too dissimilar way to what Blake Townend did, but he was able to correct it, but then stamped on the power too much rather than running it wide. And that's what caused that car to spin out on him. But you make your own luck. And once again there, I have to say that Dave Gelink was incredibly lucky.
He was. I think he's got a force field running his ineX car. A very nice paint scheme on that car. I must commend the ineX team. Their cars look fantastic. Lovely mix of colours and stuff. But yeah, they probably got their inbuilt force field. He's just pressed the force field button and it saved him. he's just super talented, really. He's a great driver. So.
And to talk about Simon Hill quickly, actually, his car really does look as though he's abused those tyres a little bit too much now. He's currently scored in the 22nd position. He's scored 2 laps down. The last car scored 2 laps down on the racetrack. And we're going to have to, however, start talking about our race leader a little bit, Roland Ehnstrom. We haven't talked about him much in the second half of this race, but that 29 car, Roland Ehnstrom, he is now 7.3 seconds ahead of Dave Gelink. Which, one thing, we said that Gelink had the choice in the back.
Yeah, Roland's just decided to go, you know what, boys, I can just go a bit quicker and a bit quicker. And he's gone from 5 seconds in front to 7.5 seconds in front in no time at all, really. Absolutely brilliant performance, and his car looks fantastic.
So we are now 2 laps away from the end of this race. Keeping an eye out on Roland Ehnstrom to see where he is on the racetrack. Keeping an eye out on the time as well. I tell you what, it's gonna be close to see whether or not he gets 1 or 2 more laps in. It does look as though there's going to be 2 laps left of this race, this being the first of them. The Danielsson Motorsport car of Roland Ehnstrom with a 7.5 second gap over Dave Gelink. And let's not forget, Gelink is now ahead of Laurent Beteille once again. So Gelink at some point was able to find his way past his teammate in the ineX Racing 88 car of Laurent Beteille. Anthony Rosselli in 4th, Frederick Tackman in 5th. Ehnstrom has some traffic ahead of him right now, and this is the number 68 car of Will Currington, scored 1 lap down. The last of the cars scored 1 lap down. And you have to say, Rob, at this stage of the race, remember what just happened to Gelink. You start thinking, I really hope that you haven't pushed your car too hard and your tyres are absolutely toast, because you could spin it at any moment, and I don't want to be in the way when you do that.
Exactly, it's kind of like, right, let's back off and just, he's got such a lead, he can afford just to back off that little bit extra and just be super cautious, but it seems the back markers are getting out of the way nicely for him, so that's all good. I wonder if there was team orders. I wonder if there was like a multi-21 call for ineX Racing. What do you think?
Beteille Gelink is faster than you. Do you understand this message? Meanwhile, for Roland Ehnstrom, he's worked himself out of the roller coaster 1 more time. We're keeping an eye out on the clock. It is going to be close, but I'll tell you what I'm going to call it. This could well be the last lap of the race. It could be very close for Ram to do 1 more, actually. So he comes past the start finish line for what will either be his last or his penultimate lap in the race. Coming down into turn number 1 once again. In fact, he will have 1 more lap after this. In fact, he'll have to do another lap, and this is going to be interesting for strategy as well, because you know how these cars do like to be close on fuel. And I'm having a look, he crossed the line there, and he will have 2 seconds left on the play clock by my watch as he comes past the start finish line.
Interesting. Or he could just back it down and just cruise.
It's that whole thing though. I mean, let's think about this. Imagine if the 2 ineX Racing drivers have been ultra aggressive on fuel. If Ehnstrom knows he can go to another lap, he's got a 7-second lead, I'd take the risk personally. I would do the other lap. He's not got any traffic really around him, and hope that imagine if the 2 ineX drivers, you know, they run out of fuel, this championship picture is wide open.
Exactly, very good point, very good point. Play the smart game. So yeah, maybe his spotter or his race engineer's going, push it. Let's see if he's got enough fuel. He should have. He's been outstanding all race. It'd be a disaster if he got it wrong now.
So you've been looking on board there with Roland Ehnstrom. You see his last lap was a 1:47.044. His fastest lap in the race today. That was set on lap number 32, a 1:46.400, right at the point where he needed it. Working himself down into the roller coaster for what could be the final time in this race. We've not really seen him back off the throttle at all. It's going to be so close at the line to whether to do 1 more lap or whether this is it. He's coming past, down towards the start finish line once again. There is going to be 1 more lap. So this time by the white flag in hand. 1 more lap to go here at VIR, and down into turn number 1. Roland Ehnstrom comes for the final time. And ineX boys, make sure you've got yourself enough fuel.
Exactly. This would be interesting because if they run out of fuel, that leaves the door wide open for Anthony Rosselli, Frederick Tackman to pick up some great points, and Luigi Nespolino as well.
I tell you what, it was 2.3 seconds remaining on the play clock as he came past the start finish line. So Ehnstrom is taking that gamble that nothing's going to happen to him on that last lap. There is no traffic around him at all. But Dave Gelink and tell you what, actually, Laurent Beteille last time by, he's dropped off that pace dramatically. He did a 1:47.015. He had an issue, I believe, on one of the previous laps. He's kind of dropped off a little bit. And for Dave Gelink, he's charging on, but Laurent Beteille could be a little bit light on fuel right now. So this could be very interesting. And, you know, Ehnstrom, he could just be trying to go for fast lap of the race right now, you know, hanging it out to dry, having a little bit of fun. How good Asso's coming past start finish line right now. He's on his last lap of the race as well. But to keep it with Roland Ehnstrom, Madison Avenue now for the final time. Up the hill he comes. Down the crest he comes now. setting himself up for the roller coaster for the final time. This is Roland Ehnstrom, who qualified this race in the first position by just 4/100ths of a second over Laurent Beteille in the ineX Racing 88 car. Coming out now of the final corner for the final time in this race. He qualified on pole. He was second fastest in practice. He thought he was going to have this race in the bag, and Roland Ehnstrom wins the third round of the STC Race Department Team Championship here at VIR. Dave Gelink will come home in the second position, and to give you confirmation from Roland Ehnstrom, that last lap, it was his fastest. 1 minute 46.281. Dave Gelink wasn't able to get, in fact, did still get the fastest lap of the race. Laurent Beteille did manage to come home in the third position, was able to get enough fuel to get to the line. Anthony Rosselli coming out the final corner for the final time. He's got two cars battling for position ahead of him. That is Simon Hill and Danielsson Motorsport. But Rosselli comes home in the fourth position. Frederick Tackman comes home in the fifth spot. And all in all, you have to say that Ehnstrom really has dominated this race.
Complete and utter domination from flag to flag.
So, we'll run through your final race result in about 2 minutes' time, but importantly, we'll talk about the teams. You have Danielsson Motorsport. They get first and fifth position, so 2 in the top 5 there for Danielsson Motorsport. So, Team ineX Racing get 2 in the top 3 with second and third positions. They will walk out of VIR with the championship lead, we believe, still in hand. And then you had Anthony Rosselli with a fourth place there for Team Radical Racing. Blake Townend coming home in 9th position as well, recovering to finish in the top 10. In fact, just come past the start-finish line now. So he was able to carry on going as well in this race. So good points there for Team Radicals coming home in, say, 4th and 9th. Luigi Nespolino in that Team GT car coming home in the 6th position. And you still have to say there's a number of different teams represented. You've got a Team GT car coming home in the top 10 as well, but you've got at least 6 different teams represented in the top 10.
Again, this series is great. There's so many drivers, so many teams that, you know, have got good strength and depth that can come and compete and get top 10 spots. I have to say, Luigi's car is one of the nicer looking ones on the track. His paint scheme's lovely and very suiting for an Italian driver.
Indeed, yeah. Now all the cars have come past the start-finish line. It's that time of the day when I need to take myself a huge swig of water and prepare to do the final race results. So bear with me one moment. And
it's alright.
Right.
Oh, you're back.
I'm good. In first place with a time of 1 hour, 31 minutes, 39 seconds, Roland Ehnstrom takes victory in the number 29 Danielsson Motorsports car. In second position for Team ineX, Dave Gelink. In third place for Team ineX is Laurent Beteille. Fourth place for Team Radicals is Anthony Rosselli. In fifth place for Danielsson Motorsports is Frederick Tackman. In the sixth position, Luigi Nespolino. In seventh is Hal Cordasso. In 8th is Jesper Tolberg Nielsen. In 9th is Blake Townend. In 10th is Mick Rusalti. 11th is Kevin Viekemans. In 12th is Ruben Collimer. In 13th, Jesper Greenweg. 14th, Stefan Gru. In 15th is Burke Ekman. 16th is Dennis Ricard. In 17th, Ivan Fernandez. 18th, Ari Harrow. 19th is Nacho Lamorte. 20th is Will Currington. 21st, Simon Hill. 22nd, Kevin Oliver Adam. 23rd, Jesper Pedersen. 24th, Adam Shaw. 25th is Krishma Paninsky, and we're into the retirees by this point. Rob Strayman, 26th. Alexander Cateno, 27th. Nicola Larson, 28th. Oscar Sarn, 29th. Rami Kaukola in 30th. Mark Warmington, 31st. Ramos Lawson, 32nd. Reggie Blaine disqualified. Stefan Coppins comes home in the 34th position. Rob.
Hello. What a great race.
It was.
What a great race. Sorry about the first 30 minutes of the broadcast, folks. I was kind of by myself, which was first time for everything. So, but fantastic race, some amazing driving, and another great race.
Give me a drive of the day. Give me a drive of the day.
Oh, drive of the day. I might have to put my Radical hat on. In fact, I am going to put my Radical hat on. Roland was amazing up front, but even though Blake suffered from a lack of talent and went all the way to the back of the field to come all the way back to the top 10, that was a great drive. And Dave gets the 2 ineX drivers. There's so many to choose from.
I'll tell you what, should we chuck away driver of the day? We'll go for team of the day.
Team of the day has to be Radicals. No, they did well, but it has to be ineX, really, doesn't it? Second and third.
ineX Racing, even when they don't win the race, they put themselves into position to pick up the maximum point available. And I'm having a look at the point standings. You're coming into this race, they had themselves a clear lead of 51 points. They're going to come out of this race and increase that points lead. So I'm really, I have to say, I'm really impressed by Team ineX. You know, they've got some huge driving talent. I have to say, though, good for Danielsson Motorsport to get 2 drivers in the top 5. That is going to be critical. You know, they came in 4th position in the points. They were, they were 61 points behind ineX Racing coming into this race. And they were 10 points behind the battle between Roaring Pipes Maniacs and Walk Racing. They might just about leapfrog those 2 teams here. And that is going to be critical for them as we head to Motegi in 2 weeks' time.
Exactly. What do you think of these cars round Motegi with the tyre heating issue? There's a lot of heavy braking and lots of corners. It's going to be an interesting race, I think.
It's going to be a crazy race. Motegi, and the thing is, don't forget that, and this is something that a lot of these drivers don't realise. Japanese tarmac, it's different.
It's a bit grippy.
It really is. I mean, people don't understand. Your tracks like Suzuka, your tracks like Motegi, it's the way that they actually come up with the asphalt itself, the composition of it, does mean that you can't just pick up a setup that you have, for a similar track. For example, Barber in theory would be a great setup to use for this car, but you go to Motegi and it just wouldn't work.
It's strange, very strange, but all those braking zones will. It's gonna be great. There's gonna be overtaking galore.
I tell you what, in fact, Motegi has got some of my favourite sequences of corners in the world as well. And, of course, being an IndyCar fan, I normally spend most of my time looking at the other part of the racetrack, because it's got, in my eyes, one of the best ovals in the world as well. I still think one day they've got to find a way of running both configurations together, because it'll be just to die for. But that run, turn 11, 12, 13, 14, a downhill braking zone into 11, come underneath the bridge of the oval, you've got to pretty much hug it to the wall of that tunnel as you come into turn 12, wide apex, then into 13, 14, which, to be fair, you're always going to lock up.
Exactly. It's going to be crazy, absolutely crazy.
So we'll talk to some drivers. We'll talk to Timo Evelyn. Hi, Timo. How you doing?
Hey, Will. It's all good. How about you?
Yeah, not too bad. Take us through how things have been going on your end today.
Well, it started off pretty good with second and third. We're kind of hoping to get in front of Roland at the start, but Roland didn't. Roland drove a really good race. He drove pretty much flawlessly, and congratulations to him. In the pit stops again, the guys were quite close, and were quite surprised that when Roland went into the pits one lap earlier than us, and we saw our chance to maybe advance or at least get closer. But then, like at Sebring, they managed to go a bit wide on the pit box, and I think he lost about probably 3 seconds right there, and that gave Roland a gap, and Dave ended up behind Laurent again, so the race was pretty much done there.
So as a team manager, if drivers missed his pit box, you've got to invest in a bigger lollipop, surely.
Yeah, exactly. But then again, the driver missing the box isn't really the lollipop guy's fault. It's pretty much the driver. So you just have to make sure they practice his pit entries, no pit box next time.
Exactly. But no, great result for your team again. Do you think you can be beaten?
Well, it's we're only halfway into the season, so anything can happen. Guys like Roland keep this performance up. It's gonna come down right into the wire.
You say that though, but I think this is what I said this in the broadcast quite a lot today. It's like, today you didn't win, but you still got 2 spots on the podium, and we can't talk about this as, you know, Ehnstrom won the race. Yes, he's done a great job for Danielsson Motorsport, but he's still got 2 drivers on the podium, and that's got to be the critical factor, surely. That consistency, 2 wins, and when you didn't win, you still had 2 steps from the podium. You've got to take that momentum with you to Beteille.
Yeah, and I keep trying to remind the guys that that's pretty much what matters, like getting both the cars finishing good. It doesn't really matter maybe if we don't win, but if we get 2 cars finishing really high, that's what's gonna matter in the end. But these guys are racers; they want to win, and I mean, second place for them is the first loser. But when you lose to guys like Roland, they don't really have anything to be disappointed about.
But turning our attention to the twin ring in 2 weeks' time. Got any ideas how you're going to deal with that ultra slippery, confusing Japanese tarmac?
Good question. I think we're gonna need to bring in some new tires or something.
Any idea who your lineup's going to be for the Beteille? Of course, some of your drivers, you're going to have to rest them up for a race or so now.
Yeah, we have a pretty big variety of people we can choose from. Nothing is decided. That we're gonna have a look at that when it gets closer to the race, who's available and who wants to drive.
Well, Team ineX Racing, they didn't win here today, but they got 2 drivers on the podium here at the green hell that is Virginia International Raceway. So well done to you, Timo Evening. And now to welcome in your race winner, Roland Ehnstrom. Rumour has it that you were talking to those very pretty podium girls for a little bit too long to try. You struggled to get over here, but congratulations on the win.
Yeah, thank you. I was talking to my teammates, but and then they're not very pretty, but okay.
Well, that race, you know, lights the flag victory. At times, it did look as though you're going to have quite a lot of pressure from the ineX boys, but especially through that sequence of pit stops, you pulled out a gap. But to be fair, you had that crazy moment when your race almost ended.
Yeah, I was driving flat out for a whole race, and I had a decent gap before the stops, and I made my stop, and I came up behind someone who hadn't stopped, and he spun in front of me in the slowest part of the track, so that was a bit scary, and I lost 2 seconds, and I wasn't sure my gap would be enough. But then I heard Dave had a problem with his pit stop again, so it was okay.
Roland, as a not so great driver, talking to a great driver, how do you maintain that level of consistency and concentration for 90 minutes?
I think it's a question of you never get satisfied. It's like a surfer looking for the perfect wave, and every lap you're making small mistakes, and next lap you want to do it better, and then you make small mistakes again and again, and so on and so on. So it's like a quest for perfection, which never comes.
Very Senna-esque quote there, very Senna-esque. Obviously your new update from your Alien software has worked wonders. But brilliant drive.
Thank you.
I'll tell you what though, actually, I had an alternative thing. I'll play it to you afterwards, Rob. You asked that question, I just think Anne Partridge and Gerard Depardieu. But, you know, we go over to Beteille in 2 weeks' time. First question is, are you going to be representing your team in 2 weeks' time?
I think not, because I had, if you remember, I had problems with the frame rate at the Sebring, and Beteille being one of the newer tracks will probably be problematic for me. So I'm looking into upgrading my computer or doing something with it, but probably have to step aside for that one.
And I'm guessing by that as well, the next time we might see you could well be in a season finale then at Homestead Miami Speedway.
Yeah, that could be. I'm taking it one by one. I'll try out for Spa. I would love to race Spa, but same thing there with the frame rate. So we'll see. If I get it fixed, I want to race Spa because it's a wonderful racetrack. Indeed, I love Spa, and really looking forward to the WEC actually this weekend. But congratulations on your race win. Also congratulations to Danielsson Motorsport. They got 2 drivers in the top 5, helping them move up in the championship standings. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Frederick did an awesome job today, and it's too bad the ineX have like 5 or 10 or 25 of the fastest drivers in the world. So
Well, carry it on. You've done yourself a lot of, made a lot of new fans today. So congratulations. And GT3 Racing seems to be the place for you to be right now.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I like it.
And that was Roland Ehnstrom coming home in the first position. And Rob, very quickly before we wrap up, we've got to think about Motegi. We've got to think about the second half of the season as well. You've got Motegi, 45-minute sprint race. You've got Spa, the classic 90-minute endurance race. Then you have Homestead Miami Speedway, 45 minutes of pure and utter madness still to come. Still a lot to think about in the rest of this season.
Lots and lots to think about. 90 minutes of Spa, that's going to be fantastic. Motegi, as we said, absolutely nuts, braking zones, lots of overtaking in a 45-minute sprint race, and I'm sure the boys will be, there's a lot of teams that are in and around that, that top 10 that are going to maybe put their hard charges in for the two big sprint races, and then maybe suffer a little bit on Spa, and just put their sort of more consistent drivers in. So there's team tactics all over the place. I can't keep up. It's crazy.
And I don't want to say this in such a way that's going to offend anyone, but with Motegi, we know there's going to be some big incidents at Motegi. It's prescribed. We know that from, the second we walk out to that racetrack. Could you almost say that you might put one of the, how do I put this nicely, not top, not the best driver you have in your team? Do you risk having your best driver in the team for Motegi, or do you risk putting, perhaps one of your slower drivers in, just to see if they can luck out and get some big points?
I think you got to put your best drivers in on the harder tracks. I mean, Spa is a great track. You can put. It's such a difficult call. I mean, personally, for me, I wouldn't put Pablo in Motegi or thinking just let him double stint at Spa, it'd be fine. Hopefully he might get round a corner, but no, man, it's such a tough call being a team manager for this sort of event. It's like, who do you put in? Consistency. You got to go for consistency every time.
Indeed, and I tell you what, we're in the month of May, so you've got your issues of your team, I've got mine. I've got to try and find a way of getting my boys into the 33 from the Indy 500. Unfortunately, that is all we have time for here today. I have been the slightly delayed Will Vincent. That has been Rob Cast. We've had Yana Metakane on cameras. This has been the third round of the STC Race Department Teams Championship, the rSeat.net 90 minutes of Virginia. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time, same place. I'll promise I'll be there on time. Until then, we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Go get him, buddy. Go get him, man. You're passing him, yes.